Hello, and welcome to Living a Graceful Life. I'm Denise Medved, your host, and I'm also the creator and founder of the Ageless Grace Brain Health Program worldwide. So, we talked in previous episodes about what is a graceful life, and this time we're going to be talking about what is the physical grace and how does that affect us personally in our body and in our lives. So, physical grace is described as elegance of movement, poise, symmetry, moving effortlessly, gliding. So when I think about those words, I think not only about actual physical movement as if I were walking with grace through life or if I was a graceful and elegant person. I think of moving through life gracefully. How do I navigate my day-to-day life physically? How do I navigate in my body, mind, emotions, and spirit when life throws me a curveball, or when things happen that I didn't expect, or when things are wonderful, or when things are not exactly the way I had planned and hoped that they would be? How do I navigate those situations? Hopefully with grace. And that's what we want to talk about tonight, physical grace. And of course, there's that literal way of moving through your day, your week, your month, your life. And there's also the physical grace of having a body that feels comfortable, that can move with ease. I'm not talking about being a famous dancer or an elegant ballerina. I'm talking about literally, how does it feel when you wake up in the morning? How does it feel if you drop something on the floor and you need to pick it up? How does it feel if you want to go up a flight of stairs or step over a low wall? Well, all of those things have to do with grace, and not necessarily gracefulness, but grace, being able to do it with ease and with comfort. So the other part of being physically graceful or having physical grace has to also do with the physical parts of you inside your body, your vital organs, and maybe most importantly, your brain and how it controls movement of the body. That's exactly what the brain is in the body for, to control movement of the body. So when we move, it also conversely affects the brain. So there are many things that we can do to cause our brain to release certain chemicals or hormones or proteins. And of course, some can be negative, like cortisol is the stress hormone, or some can be more positive, like oxytocin or serotonin or melatonin, those types of things, endorphins that make us feel great after we exercise or move or dance or have some kind of physical fun. And then there's also the vital organs of the body and the systems of the body and how those are affected and how they work. How's your respiratory system working? Circulatory system, your nervous system, all of those systems of the body that make up the way we function on a daily level. So the brain and the body need a few things just to be alive. They need water or hydration. They need oxygen, breath, breathing, inhale, exhale. They need sleep. So those are vital. And then, of course, they also need food or fuel, because food is what turns into fuel for the body and for the brain and gives us energy or gives us a level of attention or focus or concentration. The other thing that we actually need to have a healthy brain and a healthy body is physical movement. I know you've heard the term couch potato, and that literally means someone who really doesn't do a lot of movement. They tend to lie around and they read a lot, or they watch TV a lot, or they relax or rest a lot. And there's nothing wrong with any of those things. We need that balance in our lives. And of course, balance is another word for grace, right? physical balance and balance of all the different things that we might do throughout our day and our week. So we also need physical movement. Being a couch potato all the time is not good. Just like moving constantly is not good. We need a balance of both. So, what I'd love to talk about in the Physical Grace episode this evening is to talk about the idea that we're in charge. We have personal power over most of the decisions that have to do with the things that cause our body and brain to function with physical grace or ease. So, first of all, you are in charge of how much water you drink. Yes, you may have been in situations in your life, or it's possible that you live in some place where water is scarce. However, most of us have some input over how much hydration we get. I hear from people all the time things like, oh, I don't like the taste of water, or the taste of water in my community isn't great. Well, there are all kinds of little bottles of flavoring now, no calories, no sugars, that you can put into water, 2 or 3 drops, and it gives it a flavor of tangerine or mango or papaya or citrus, lemon. So there are things you can do to cause that water to taste better and more pleasant to you. There are also things that you can do that give it a flavor or a taste of, like, one tea bag in a large bottle of water will give it a slight little taste of that tea as opposed to actually drinking tea. So it's mostly water. So hydration is something you choose, you manage, and you are in control of. Now, we all know there are water bottles. There happens to be a Win-Win Women water bottle. I have my mug on the table behind me, but there is a big, beautiful water bottle. And we all know that all kinds of places provide water bottles or sell water bottles that we can take with us. Some are even have a little diffuser that goes inside where you can put some blueberries or something in it, and it will taste delicious. There is no excuse for not taking water with you wherever you go. I actually am very good at hydrating. I'm not good at a lot of other things, but I'm great at hydration. I have a large drinking bottle like this in my car. I have another one here at my desk. I have another one in my bedroom beside my bed, and I drink a lot of water. And I'm just going to talk about the elephant in the room, which is, oh, if I drink a lot of water, I have to go to the bathroom a lot. And I don't want to have to do that. I have to stop and go all these times. Well, guess what? It's a good thing. You're ridding your body of toxins, which helps rid your body of inflammation. So why not drink? So what if you have to take a few second break or a few minute break several times a day? It's okay. The benefits far outweigh the negatives, right? So that's one thing you're in charge of. Another thing that you're in charge of is oxygen, breathing. Yes, some of us live in areas that are more polluted than others. However, many of us are indoors much of the time or part of the time, or we can go someplace outdoors where the air's a little better. So we're in charge of how we breathe. Most people actually hold their breath when they're concentrating on something. So we sit at our computers, for example, or on our cell phones, and we don't even realize it, but we're actually thinking, oh, I just got to find this thing, or I just have to send this message, or my mouse, I just have to look up this one thing on the internet. And before you know it, I didn't take a breath that whole time. Oh, yeah, I'm not breathing. So breathing is important. Now, what I did was take a breath, and I breathed in, right? And that's what most of us do when we think about breathing. We say, oh, come on, let's breathe. Everybody goes, and takes a nice big breath in. But actually, if you've ever been to any breath workshops or seminars or read anything about oxygenation of the body, the bloodstream, the cells, the brain, you know that they all pretty much say exhale should be twice as long as the inhale. Now, don't anybody raise your hands, because even though I know that, I don't always do that. I don't even do that half of the time. However, every time I think of it, I remind myself, am I breathing out? Am I releasing the air that I just took in or holding my breath? Am I letting it go fully out of my lungs, which makes space for fresh new oxygen to come in? How important is that? That's another form of fuel, especially for the brain. It needs fresh oxygen. So exhale. Now, here's the little trick. Anytime you're making a sound, humming, whistling, singing, you are exhaling. Sound can't come out of your body unless the sound is going out. So the more you can practice humming, whistling, singing, counting out loud, saying your ABCs or saying them backwards, counting down from 100, saying your vowel sounds. What else could there be? All of those things, saying tongue twisters, posing a riddle to someone, the more you do that repetitively, meaning I don't just say A-E-I-O-U one time and say, oh, good, I exhaled, but I repeat it 10 or 12 or 14 times so that I'm sure I'm getting all that oxygen out of my lungs. You can do it slowly, you can do it quickly, it doesn't matter, but it matters that you actually take time out of your day to remind yourself to make sound and to blow out. Now, you could pretend you're playing a musical instrument, and a lot of those instruments require that we blow into them, right? Playing a clarinet, playing a tuba, playing a trumpet. So that blowing out is important. You could imagine that it's your 100th birthday and you have 100 candles on your cake that you need to blow out every one so your wishes will come true. And I think if you're 100, you should get 100 wishes, don't you? So practice doing things that cause you to blow out, to give you greater intake of oxygen then when it's time for your brain and body to say, now let's breathe in, right? So we've talked about oxygen, and we've also talked about hydration or water. What about sleep? Well, I also mentioned that food or fuel for your body is really important to your overall health, physically and your brain. And that's part of your body, obviously. So it's also a physical, tangible organ inside your body. So I actually want to talk about food and movement, exercise, movement, diet, movement, first before I talk about sleep. And I'll tell you why in a minute. So what do you fuel your body with? Many of you drive a car, probably most of you. And I bet you put in pretty good gasoline. Some of you use high test or premium gasoline because you know that it might make your car run better. So when we put in premium fuel into our bodies, guess what? It helps us run better. It helps us operate throughout the day with more grace. It helps us move with more ease and comfort. It helps us not get so tired. So does oxygen and water, for example. Now, so there are many food choices, and I leave this up to you, but you know that they've done studies on many different kinds of diets, and I don't mean a crash diet to lose 20 pounds in 30 days. I mean a diet of daily food that you put into your mouth and into your body. That's a diet. So, nutrition. So how do you make those decisions? Well, those diets are often compared. You can look them up usually on the internet, and it might compare this diet with that or this with that. But I want you to know that one of the best diets ranked overall in a number of periodicals and medical journals is the Mediterranean diet. So hooray for those of you who live in Greece and Italy and places where you live on a Mediterranean diet. For those of us in other countries, and quite frankly, especially in America, we have a lot of processed food. We have a lot of food that has additives in it. We have a lot of food that has preservatives in it. If it's processed, it's probably not the best choice, and that includes fast foods. And I know that's bad news because we live a fast life. We're always doing things. We have families and children and husbands and pets and homes and jobs, and so fast food is great. However, you can be in charge and make your own choices to have a more well-operating body. and brain by choosing in advance what you'd like to eat this week. So if you take a couple hours on Sunday, or maybe not even that long, and you say, I'm going to eat more vegetables this week. I'm going to eat some raw vegetables. I'm going to eat some vegetables that I've already chopped up that I can steam really quickly. I'm going to eat more fish this week because that's on the Mediterranean diet, especially those fatty fishes. Those are good for us. That's the good fat. Avocados, those are wonderful for us. There are so many things, and then there are so many things that are not so great. So the choice is yours in almost every case. And people can say to me, oh, but I work and I don't have time to go out. Well, then who's in charge of packing a little lunch in a bag and bringing it with you? You are, right? And it's not as quite as easy as I make it sound. The easy part, quite honestly, is to make the decision that you want to eat more healthy and fuel your body with good, healthy, clean things instead of things that will cause you to feel sluggish or tired or bloated or gain weight. So don't make a sudden change overnight. Just start to add in more and more healthy foods every week and start to decrease the unhealthy foods every week. And in a matter of a few weeks, you'll say, hey, look how healthy I eat. I make healthy choices, right? Now, the other thing I talked about was that word exercise that none of us like so much, or most of us don't like so much. And what I like to call it is movement, because movement is critical to brain health and body health. You know, the theory behind physical therapy, for example, is that if you have an injury or something that doesn't move or work well, you move it in small ranges of motion until it starts to move in a bigger range of motion, until it starts to get back its full range of motion. So that's the same thing with the body. You might find it challenging to do different kinds of movement at first if you haven't been used to it. And then all of a sudden you'll say, oh, well, my shoulders feel better this week than they did last week, or my hips are moving better than before, or I'm a little more limber or a little more flexible. So I show you in each episode one physical movement tool, we call them tools, that can help you change your attitude, lift your spirits, move your body, and get a little more flexibility and mobility. Things that can actually help you move your systems and maybe digest better. Or, here's the bottom line, after you choose to move every day for even 10 minutes, that's a start, right? 10 minutes of movement that affects the brain, and I'll show you another one of those tools later, can actually keep the brain functioning at a higher level. Now, if you really want to get a more functioning body, only 10 minutes will not necessarily cause you to suddenly become a triathlete or a long distance runner. You have to do more than that. But if you just want functional movement, 10 or 15 minutes a day can help your brain and your body feel better and function better. Because what we're wanting at this point in most lives is functional fitness. Most of us don't want to be a superior athlete, or we don't want to compete. We don't want to be competitive in our movements. What we want is to be able to walk up those stairs that I mentioned earlier with some grace and comfort and ease. We want to be able to step over something, or bend over and pick something up out of the floor, or climb a ladder. We want to be able to do the things that we want to do as well as the things that we need to do. I don't want to just be able to open doorknobs and walk down my front steps or drive a car. I want to do some things that I love and enjoy, like hiking or walking or playing in the floor and making puzzles with my grandkids or playing basketball with my grandson. I want to be physically involved and participating in my life. And in order to do that, I need to fuel and move my body and my brain. So I mentioned that I would talk about sleep last, as that we make. I know many of you have issues with sleeping. It's a huge epidemic, for lack of a better word. However, there are some things that you can do that definitely make a huge difference in your ability to sleep. The first two are the food choices you make, nourishment. Oh, and the movement choices that you make, some form of physical exercise or activity. So, surprise, surprise, the more you move during the day, the more you are physical, the more steps you get on your Fitbit, those types of things, the more likely you are to sleep well. And those things also cause us to get greater oxygen intake when we're moving and breathing just a little heavier. I'm not talking about pushing yourself or going to boot camp or going to the gym an hour every day. None of that. I'm talking about moving, being physically active every day. That helps increase your oxygen, and that also helps you sleep better. Now, drinking water hydrates your body, and you don't get that dryness that you may not even realize you have. You know, they say when you're thirsty, that means that 30 minutes ago you should have been drinking water already, because when you're thirsty, it's way after you're actually dehydrated. So drink throughout the day. You don't have to be thirsty to drink to hydrate your body, and that will affect your sleep. Fascinating, isn't it? Now, another thing that affects your sleep is making choices 1 hour before you go to bed. That's interesting. What kinds of choices? You're in charge. Well, a ritual, a routine that triggers your brain right away to say, oh, we must be getting ready to go to sleep. So what would that be? It could be that I turn off all of my screens. Oh, that's scary, isn't it? No internet, no cell phone, no television, 1 hour before I go to sleep, because those things are very stimulating to the brain and to the senses, whether you realize it or not. Maybe you put on some soft, relaxing music, not your favorite rock and roll band, but something that's soft and soothing and peaceful, and you listen to that music. Maybe you read, that's part of your ritual. But don't read a spy thriller. Read some beautiful poetry or some inspirational readings that talk about gratitude, for example, at the end of your day. Maybe you write in a journal and you say, I'm going to write down all the things that I am grateful for this day before I go to sleep. It's such a peaceful thing to be able to list 5 or 6 things that you feel gratitude about in your life or in that particular day. And I know some days are terrible. I have them too. And when I have those terrible days, sometimes I write in my journal, I'm so glad this day is over. I'm so grateful. Or I write, oh, thank heavens I have a nice soft bed. I'm so blessed and lucky, filled with grace to have a nice soft bed and to have a blanket to put over me. So another thing you might do is if you have a dog or a cat, maybe they sleep in the room where you do, but before you go to bed, sit down with them for a little while, pet them, brush them, talk to them, let the cat start to purr, because those are calming, peaceful things that again slow the brain down and cause it to prepare to go to sleep. And when the brain, which is in charge of everything we do, is ready to go to sleep, and when we've had oxygen, and when we've been hydrated, and when we've moved a lot today, and when we've fed our body with healthy, clean, real, live food instead of something that's processed that's going to cause us to feel acid indigestion or reflux or bloated or heavy, whatever it might be, when we've done all those things, which we're in charge of, then we will sleep better as well. So there you are, the physical grace that we're in charge of ourselves. Now, there's a little bit more grace I'd like to mention, and that's our surroundings. And you can choose your surroundings, including what clothes do you put on today? How do they make you feel? What colors do you put on today? How does it make you feel? You don't have to have a fancy wardrobe, but it would be nice if you had a red t-shirt that you love, or a pair of light blue pants that are your favorite, because those things can make you feel like you have a more graceful life. Maybe you love your surroundings, where you live, your room, your home, your apartment, whatever it may be, but you're in charge of what's inside. Even if it's a simple going outside, cutting a branch or two off of a plant or a tree, putting in some berries or some wild flowers that you've seen and setting that arrangement. That's another form of grace that you bestow on yourself. So let's don't just wait for grace to show up in our lives. Let's invite it in and even bring it in ourselves, right? We can do that. So I'm going to step back at this chair right here, and I'm going to tilt my screen so that you can see me moving. And I'm going to show one physical exercise that might be fun for you to do. Not only will it help your body, it will help your brain, it will help your attitude, it will help your emotions. It might even help your sense of humor. So it can help a lot of things. It can relax your mind, which is our awareness or consciousness. So this is a form of play. It's a funny, simple tool that we can use. It takes the length of one song. You notice I'm always barefoot when I show you these because I'm comfortable and at ease barefoot, and because there are 7,000 nerve endings in each foot, and guess where those go? Into my body and communicating with my brain. So even something as simple as sitting down and being barefoot, and sitting down so that my brain and body have to figure out doing what we're about to do from a seated position rather than standing. We all know a lot of things about standing, but we don't know as much about being seated. So I'm going to put on some music, and we're going to do this exercise for the length of one song. That's all. All right, so this is called Team Fit, and it's physical sports. So this is about the physical body. So you don't have to be good at sports to do this. Let's jump rope. So the first sports I'm thinking of are things that we might do on our own. All alone we can do this. And you don't need to actually jump rope. You can actually pretend, and doing the activity and pretending to do the activity light up almost all the same parts of the brain. Now let's jump backwards, faster. Oh boy. Now what if we jump side to side? Now another thing you might do alone is roller skate. So let's roller skate. Now I'll be 70 in May. So I remember when there were skate keys and you attach the skate to your shoe. So those of you who are younger might know about inline skates, or even those skates that have the little motors on them. But we're roller skating under our own power right now. Now another thing you could do alone is just bounce a ball, dribbling it like a basketball, and pretending that you're really good so you can switch off and dribble it with the other hand. Switching off from one hand to the other. Now how about a frisbee? Let's throw a frisbee. Now the only thing about doing this alone is you have to go get the frisbee after you throw it, unless you have a boomerang. Or maybe you have a dog that'll bring it back to you. Now let's throw the frisbee with this hand. Come on, let's go. Throw it far and wide. And that's the end of one song. So all you do is a simple tool or exercise like that, which gives you movement for your body, and it lifts your spirits. It gets the cobwebs out of your brain and allows you to feel better and move better and think better, right? So I'm going to come back up to the screen, and as I do, I'm going to ask you to think about what are the things that you can invite into your life to make your life a little more graceful, a little more comfort and ease in your physical body and your physical self. How can you get more physical grace? All the things that I mentioned tonight will help you with that. Again, oxygen, water, sleep, exercise or movement, food and fuel. All of those things help you have a more graceful life. So thank you for being here. And if you want to learn more about those kinds of tools, come visit us at agelessgrace.com. I'm here to remind you that it's never too late to begin to make choices to create the life that you want to live. Thanks for being with me on Living a Graceful Life.